It's so amazing to be with all of you here today. I'm so excited. We have a exciting 1 hour ahead of us, talking to a lot of amazing people. Well, just like social media revolutionized the way we connect, real-time engagement really disrupted the way we engage with each other, whether it's one-on-one or small groups, very, very large groups, big channels, whether we're doing it on mobile phone or on browsers. These are all really new, innovative landscapes, and we're here to talk about them with a group of amazing people. If you are looking for your next business opportunity and you're already building your next business opportunity, you are in the right place. We are going to hear, a lot of experienced executives sharing from their business experience, from their journey, and I think it's going to be very exciting. Before I start inviting our panelists, just a quick note on how we're going to do this. So we're going to try and do this casually, and we're going to talk to each other. I really invite you out there, the audience, to just come on video, talk to us, ask your questions. The concept here is you can ask us anything, anytime. We will try to pause even in the middle of a conversation and answer your question as a first priority. So this is really all for all of you guys out there joining us today. The other option for you, if you don't want to come up on video, you can print your question shortly on the Q&A tab on the right side of the screen, so that we can monitor those and get them in front of our panelists. So without further ado, let me introduce the panelists. So Lauren Foundos, the founder and CEO of Forte Fit. Welcome, Lauren. Hi, very exciting to have you here.
Likewise.
And Mashita-san, the founder and CEO of VCube, joining us all the way from Japan. Mashita-san. Yeah, thank you. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Good.
Jerry
Thank
Shen,
you.
the president and founder of Welcome Events. Jerry, very excited to have you here. Yeah, very excited to use your amazing platform, by the way. And finally, Geoff Cook, the founder and president and CEO of the Meet Group. Geoff, great to see you always. Awesome. So I'm going to start monitoring the Q&A together with the team in the back. And if someone pops on video, we'll be, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be happy to bring them on. But first, how about each of you take 45 seconds to kind of introduce yourself and your business. So Lauren, how about you start?
For sure. Hey guys, thank you for coming today. My name is Lauren Foundos and I am the founder and CEO of Forte. Forte is a tech company that enables gyms to create a premium digital experience from end to end. So we spent a couple of years developing proprietary hardware and software that we install in the fitness facility to enable them to broadcast their classes to the world. And then we provide them with a white labeled platform that they can offer to their members that has heart rate monitors and leaderboards and all this stuff to make it super interactive and fun. Obviously, digital has become pivotal, in general, and then with the pandemic, certainly accelerated. So it's a very exciting time for the company.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Mashita-san.
Yep. Okay. Good morning. Maybe it's good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mashita, and I'm CEO and founder of VCube. And VCube is a listed company. It's a startup company headquartered in Japan, and we provide visual communication services like web conferencing, webinar, telemedicine, e-learning, those kind of remote communication services. And we are the biggest web conferencing service provider here in Japan from 2008 all the way to now. So it's a lot in the last 13 consecutive years. And we are also expanding this interesting box. Maybe you can see the box behind me, but
yeah, we
this
can
is
see half
called
of
a very
it.
cute. Oh yeah, really? Okay. So it's a phone booth with a soundproof and also air conditioning. So we are putting this kind of box into many stations, offices, airports, many places, because a lot of people are looking for quiet comfortable communication place for this kind of remote communication. So, well, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm based in Japan, Singapore, and Los Angeles. But because of this crazy situation, I'm not stuck in Japan. But I'm looking forward to communicating with all of you guys in this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mashita-san. Jerry.
Hey guys, my name is Jerry. I am the president and co-founder of Welcome. That's a platform that you guys are on right now. So Welcome is designed for high-end and branded virtual events. So a company like Agora can run a virtual event that feels less like a Zoom meeting and a little bit more like a television production. And we actually use Agora's technology to bring all of that together in a very easy-to-use interface that doesn't require any technical expertise. So that's a little bit about us.
Well, I know that you have a lot of technical expertise. We're going to talk about that later. But Geoff.
Yeah, great to be here. So I'm the CEO of the Meet Group. We have a portfolio of 5 apps serving diverse audiences. Our apps are Meet Me, Scout, Tag, Laboo, Growler, all meeting dating apps. We like to think of ourselves as like the mobile version of the bar or the coffee house. But our unique take on it really it involves a lot of live streaming video. We've been adding live streaming video into dating apps, as you know, since really 2016 when we started building it, 2017 when we started monetizing it. We've built up a $200 million revenue stream off of live video, and we since the pandemic we've been doing a lot with creating like these mini dating games. It allows everyone to be the star of their own dating game. We see about 200,000 dating games played every day, and so it's been a journey adding live streaming to video, but I think there's a lot of value to adding entertainment into the typically utility-driven dating app, and so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I do.
That all sounds great, and I think this is a great group of people that can really talk about business experiences from the ideation all the way to execution and go live and the experiences they had on the way. And this is why we're here. We're here to share from our experiences with the large audience that we have right now with us, and maybe answer specific questions that bother them on their way to be successful, or maybe you guys out there building a new business really from the start, and you want to ask a very basic question. All the questions are going to be welcome, whether it's on video and in the Q&A tab. Maybe just say a word about myself. My name is Reggie. I'm the CRO and COO of Agora. We specialize in real-time engagement. We provide SDKs and APIs that empower video, voice, and interactive live streaming engagement use cases, big or small, local or global. We work with thousands of companies, developers, startups, and also big corporations to make all those use cases possible. So without further ado, I'm going to maybe start with a general question. Geoff, maybe you can share with us first what drove you to create a real-time engagement business?
Yeah, so it was really what led us down the path of live video was actually some trips I had made to China back in 2015 and in early 16, and I met with some companies that are in the live streaming space and are very well known in China today, and I felt like I was holding kind of the future in my hand, looking at apps like YY and Momo back then. And, at the time, I was told this will never work in the United States. And this is something somehow peculiar to, one culture. But, we didn't believe that. I think what we saw was that when people are on dating apps, they're not just looking for the utility of a date. They're lonely, and they're looking for moments to connect. And so if we could transform, moments of loneliness when they're not getting enough chats, people aren't swiping on them, they're not getting enough engagement. We find that live streaming video does a fantastic job of allowing them to feel some connection to another person right when they need to the most. And so it's a natural thing to add into dating. And that's what we found. We're now about 9 million viewers on our platform every month, 1 million broadcasters. And so, it's really been a tremendous last few years of growing the company. And it's really because of the decision to kind of to go full bore into live streaming.
Yeah, and talking about ideation, so ideation is the foundation of starting a business, is kind of thinking about what is it that I want to achieve? What is it that I want to bring to the market? And then there's always the question, why? Like, why do I want to do this? And specifically, I'm curious, asking Lauren about, I'm sure you had a very comfortable life in the previous sports iteration, right? Like,
yep.
What was the thing that actually drove you to transform your business into a real-time engagement? It's a lot relying on online capabilities, right? The way you operate.
Yep. I just felt like I saw in the fitness market that they are very slow to adopt technology, and that they were confined by the 30 bodies that can physically attend their space. And so there was the brick and mortar gym, and then there was videos online, and they were always two separate entities. And every day those facilities are creating great classes. And I was like, why can't I take a class from anywhere in the world and have access to that? They're doing this every day. And so I figured, I started to envision that the future was a place that was making everything more accessible, which is how it's going in every other, industry. And I just look at, Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Blockbuster and Netflix, and I just kept seeing that they needed to iterate. And I would sit at work, and the vision for the future became more and more clear to me. And I ultimately was like, I know this is going to happen, and I'm going to set out to find a way to do this. Obviously, having no technical experience whatsoever, but determined to figure it out, and very grateful that I have now, over the course of 5 years, found a way to do that. So I think it's exciting, and when you feel really certain about something, I didn't want to tell a story that I thought of that and I didn't do anything about it. So I decided to leave my comfortable job on Wall Street and make the step to do that.
Right, and that's amazing. There's got to be that moment where everything kind of connects well in your head, and then you say, okay, this is really a business opportunity, right? And you were talking about extending capability beyond the gym. You have 3 people crammed in a room. Corona aside, that's a limitation. And I think, Jerry, if I dare to process what went in your head when you were setting up Welcome, is kind of breaking that barrier of how many people can fit in a room into now building an event that could have 1 million people in it. Right, Jerry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the things about events now that they've gone virtual is you can really break down a lot of geographical barriers, right? I mean, if you look at a lot of events in the business world, you had to fly people around. It was very wasteful, and just from a pollution perspective. And now going online and being able to have everyone from around the world be able to access an event that was previously only accessible to an elite few. I think that's one of the reasons that I love this business. We had a conference that was on our platform a few months ago. It's actually the world's largest engineering leadership conference. And in order to get there before, you would have to buy a plane ticket to San Francisco. It's very expensive, get a hotel stay, and it's accessible to everyone. But at the same time, if you didn't have the means to do that, you couldn't attend. But this year, anyone from around the world with an internet connection could join and hear from the CTO of Stripe or the CTO of GitHub. So I think virtual events and powered by Agora are really breaking down a lot of barriers, and I think that's a good thing.
I want to connect with you, Mashita-san, here on the basis of, we have ideas, right? And those ideas cook in our heads into something that sounds like a business. And then the next step is you sit down and you try to do something a little more formalized. I don't want to call it a business plan, maybe not right away, but you're trying to put something together that will basically summarize the business idea that you just ideated. And you talk to people, you talk to experts, you talk to a lot of, eventually you formulate something in your head. What is the advice that you want to give people that are thinking now, how do I transform my intuitive business idea into a business plan? Like 3 key things they would focus on building their initial business plan.
Oh, okay. That's really a broad question, actually.
I know it's broad and complex, but just kind of
Yeah.
try to hone in on like 2 things.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, if I talk about my business, for example, so I started from my problem, so our problem. So I started this company back in 1998. So it's a long time ago, but we started from website creation, mobile application development. And then we opened the office in Los Angeles to bring our mobile Japanese application to the US market. But we faced a communication problem between Japan office and US office. So we're trying to buy some video conferencing system like a Polycom Hamburg. They're too expensive. We couldn't buy it. And then we made it. And then we use that application, and then we realized that maybe there is opportunity to sell this one in the market. So we started from that. So we didn't think even starting this kind of business at the beginning, but what we saw was, well, of course, what do you call that? How big that is the market is going to be. So how big is the maximum market volume with the initial idea? That's one thing what we need to think about. And also for starting a new business, unfortunately, 90% to 95% of the new idea is gonna fail. So we need to prepare a backup plan B and C and D and maybe sometime E. So whether we can think about those kind of backup plan, that is also another key, whether we can start the business. And also, of course, well, maybe this is, I'm talking about how do you call that? The unoptimistic things, but we need to think about a worst case scenario as well. So, well, we cannot die, right? So we can challenge new things, and we will always, how do you call that? Be challenging new things. But the bottom line is, even if we will be unsuccessful, we're not gonna die, or our company is not gonna die. So we can survive, and we can challenge different things. So those kind of things is very necessary and very important for starting new things. So thinking about those worst case scenario was another things what we need to think about, and then another how do you call that, important things before starting the business. So maybe it's not answering to your question.
So Mashita-san, you're basically saying finding that unique value proposition. So you went into that unique value proposition by just finding a problem, finding a solution to that problem, and then saying, okay, that's going to be interesting for others. The second thing I hear you say is that with every good plan, you need to have a plan B, C, etc.
Exactly.
Just if plan A doesn't work. And maybe the third point is you always have to have your hedge. Like you need to know what to do if things really go unexpectedly to a certain direction, and you know how to react, and you're not taking the company down by not planning for a potential crisis, right? And I think those are important comments because many people out there right now they're thinking about how can they reinvent themselves, right? I mean, a lot of businesses were offline, now they have to be online. So I think there's a lot of question marks in people's heads, like how do you pivot your business, or how do you pivot your life? People change careers, people move away to other things. Corona or not, people transform, and eventually a lot of that goes online. And Mashita, those are great points, and that leads me to the next point. Jerry, I want to, since you guys are, I know a lot of you guys have very high level of skills in technology, especially in video technologies. The second step of a business is also to make a choice of technology that they would want to use to empower that real-time engagement or online business, right? What's the best way to ideate and choose those technologies? What's the right technology?
Well, I think for us, especially being a virtual events platform, we knew really early on that video was going to be a central component of that. And we were working under a lot of constraints. I don't know if you realize this, but we didn't even start building until after the pandemic. And by then, it was a very crowded market already. You had a lot of entrants in the space. So we realized we needed to build something that was both better than anything else on the market, and we had to build it faster than anything else on the market, right? That's a pretty tough challenge. And working at Yahoo, have a lot of experience with live video, worked on a project streaming NFL games to tens of millions of people. So I understood the challenges of setting up our own infrastructure, and we just didn't have the time to do that. So when we were evaluating all the different platforms out there, for us, Agora came on top because it was very extensible and it performed really, really well. We ran a lot of tests, and to our surprise, the video quality was actually better than Zoom, which everybody was flocking to at the beginning of the pandemic. And so we realized, maybe we could, actually build a better product than Zoom has and some of the other incumbents on Agora's platform. And so we took a leap of faith, and I think it worked out. I mean, you guys can tell me, you guys are all looking at the platform right now, what the quality's like, but we've been really happy with the results.
Well, I can't even react to that statement, right? I'll be suspected of bias here.
I'll react to it because I think we also use the Agora platform, and it's been tremendously stable, definitely high quality, good with managing poor network conditions, and very scalable. We've seen. We would occasionally call my friend Todd there and say, look, we're going to turn on a couple 100,000 daily active users. Is tomorrow okay? And it would be managed really without any concern. And so I think I echo a lot of that. I think you set the quality standards a little bit higher on this platform than I do on mine, but it looks quite good.
Yeah, I'd like to chime into that too. We use Agora as well, and we decided to go with them because they had a lot more video capabilities, the ability to show more videos, and also just to specialize the product for our consumers. So the ability in our market, Zoom is made for meetings and not necessarily for fitness activities, which is what it's being used for. And so we wanted to use the capabilities that they had to make a really unique experience. So maybe showing your video only to the trainer because you're not comfortable showing it to everybody. And so making sure you get that feedback while still building the confidence to feel great about that. And so the people that usually want to leave it on are really good, and the people that want it off. And so we wanted to encourage ways to use their infrastructure that really make a great fitness experience. And in many ways, the platform allows users to have more touch points with the trainer than they probably actually would in person. And for the trainer to actually be more aware of what all the people are doing by being able to see them like that. So it's really been exciting. And there's so many more things that we're going to iterate to, be able to show people, just maybe you want to keep your videos on only to your friends and things like that. So taking the Zoom-like experience and using all the tools that Agora offers to make an even better experience, and they really set themselves apart from that. And our customers are thrilled to be off Zoom, not to bad, but and to be using something that's built, very custom for their experience, which has been really exciting.
Thank you. I want to pause here. I got an audience question from the audience. We can put that video on now. Hello, William.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much for this panel. I've already enjoyed it so much. My question is very simple because many of us are really working on a project, like starting from like really small ideas and then trying to build like step by steps. My question is, can I get like each one of your input? Like, what is your best advice for someone who's trying to do startups or as an entrepreneur to kick off a project or company?
Best advice. All right. So William wants best. So we'll start from Mashita-san, like the one best.
Clearly, well, just listening to the voice from the customers and consumers, that's the most important thing. So always we need to improve our services based on the voice from our users, right? So continuing those kind of things and never give up. That's one of the best things and the most important thing.
Gotcha. Thank
I
you.
think before Mashita's point, before you may not have a customer to listen to. So if you're even before that, which I think is a really, exciting place, but also a difficult place for me, it was finding a group of people that were entrepreneurs. It was actually on Facebook, but to be able to, I've now learned so many things that I never want some other entrepreneur to waste their time doing the wrong things. And I would love to bequeath that information to another entrepreneur. And so this kind of group was really good at saying, hey, how did you do your formation documents? What's a good lawyer? Like, instead of just going to random people. So I think finding that group of people that can save you time and you'll then feel the need to do that when you get to the next stage of your journey as well. I think that's the most important thing, surrounding yourself with people that are in different phases of it, so you don't waste your time ultimately.
Yeah.
I'd
probably say get started. Get started. Like if I have to limit myself to one piece of advice, it's probably that one, because you're really going to just have to do like 1,000 things right. But I think what differentiates kind of people who start a business from people who don't is they actually get started and start putting like one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, this is a really tough question. I think everybody else has had a lot of great comments. I would say for me, just to add to it, work on something that you really enjoy. I think entrepreneurship a lot of times is a really long journey. If you look at, most startups, venture funded startups, they last about 10 years, right? So whatever you're doing now, think about doing it for the next 10 years. And if you want to shoot yourself, then that's probably not what you should be doing. But if you wake up every day and you can't wait to work on the idea, and you're just distracted, you're, maybe going on dates in Geoff's dating app and you can't think of anything else but your product, then I think that's probably a good sign that you should probably continue. But for me, I've been doing this for a long time, and the companies that have worked out well have always been things that I myself have really enjoyed, to the point where I'm just obsessing about it.
Yeah,
So
is an interesting entrepreneur or entrepreneur and investor, Josh Koppelman, who talks about this point, like the art of the pick, and to Jerry's point, that entrepreneurs often fall in love with an idea and then just rush headlong at it, and they don't really spend 2 or 3 months putting 90, 100 ideas on the board and saying, I'm going to pick this one. But sometimes the most intentional outcomes, and Flatiron Health was a $2 billion outcome that started with a very good pick and that sort of process. That's not what I do. I rush headlong at it. But I think there's some wisdom in it.
Yeah, if I may, before I summarize, because there was like amazing advice here, William, that you got. I would also dare and add to that is that all what the panel members mentioned, do it all at once. So people at the first steps, they tend to hesitate. I think connecting to Geoff, like, come on, just jump, right? Like, do it. So people tend to hesitate. I say, you need to do a lot of things in the same time. You need to experiment. You need to launch. You need to make mistakes. You need to listen to your customers when they tell you, hey, that's not working well. You need to go back to the drawing board and change it. You need to surround yourself with a good ecosystem of people that can support you. You need to make the right choices, and you really need to love what you do, because you run out of gas after a couple of months when you picked something that looked like a diamond, but it's really not that shiny because you're not built for that. Your personality is really not there. Your dreams are somewhere else. So thinking about your dreams is equally important. So if I dare summarize all this good advice, I would say all of those pieces, if you put them all together and you run in parallel without hesitation, you have a strong chance to succeed. That's my opinion. And, don't be afraid to fail. Fail fast, but don't be afraid to fail.
Totally. Well, thank you all so much. Those are great advice.
Thank you, William. So we will continue. So we were talking about ideation. Then we were talking about business plans, and then I want to start with you, Mashita-san, because you bring a unique angle here. you know, operating in the Japanese and the US market in a very deep way. How do you think about when you have this initial prototype or MVP? How do you think about product market fit? Like, what are the things you need to be conscious of when you introduce a product into a new geography? Like for example, Japan will have a very unique taste in products.
That's true. So maybe a good example is we are promoting Agora in Japan, right? And we've been doing similar things with many startups coming from states or some other countries. And Japan is one of the interesting market. It's not small. It's still a big country, but it's still a quite unique country to get in. And the local culture is different from other countries. Of course, each country has a different idea and also manners, a lot of cultures. So we need to adjust everything to fit to the local needs. So the most important thing is we need to find the good partner. So a lot of a lot of those startups are now coming to Japan to look for the partner, and they're coming to the big boys like Fujitsu, NEC, Toshiba, Hitachi, those kinds of big companies everybody knows. But the problem is, the small business is just one of the very small business of those big guys. So always the cooperation with those big guys are not doing well. So you need to find a small one which can dedicate or which can focus with your service. So having the the communication and also the building the friendship of the key person of that company or maybe even the CEO or founder of that company to work together as one team is quite important. So finding those kind of company and is very important, but it's very difficult. So we are trying to be that kind of partner for the Japanese market, and more importantly, the acceptance on those startups to change the service to adjust to fit to the local needs in Japan is also important. So we've been talking with your team how we need to do this kind of things, and sometimes the customers in Japan are very conservative, and it always takes a long time to convince them to change their service or use our service, right? So, but those kinds of things, the great thing on Agora is Agora could listen to us and was enough patient, and Agora could change a lot of things to fit to the local needs.
To adapt,
To adapt, yes. And having to trust each other and building the trust each other and fitting to the local needs and being patient, and then wait for the timing to go and those kind of things is very frustrating sometimes, but it's actually working, and we've been doing the same thing with many partners in Japan, and it's now very successful and it's growing. So that's what we are seeing. And the other way around, coming from Japan to the US has never been successful from our perspective, because we don't know the United States actually. So we know the local market here in Japan and also maybe some countries in Asia, but we need to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very important. I think customization, adaptation of the offering to the local needs, and be mindful of culture and habits, and take that into consideration. That is very important. Now, another important thing, there is a question here. There's a question here that want to understand. That's a very specific question related to Agora. what makes the quality of international audio and video work better? Well, that's a very specific question. Work better for Agora compared to other competitors. So I will just take, I don't want to take all the time here and answer a lot, but I'll just answer in 20 seconds that Agora has a network that has embedded algorithms that manage the audio and the video traffic internationally, making sure that this overlay that basically deployed on our network handles all kind of potential challenges in the video traffic, whether it's packet loss, as Geoff mentioned earlier, a challenging environment, a challenging network. So all this smarts is embedded actually in the network. And once you implemented the SDK, you can access the network. All of this combined together gives Agora that advantage, that relative advantage versus competitors, ensuring that the video quality is stable and sustainable. And that person who asked the question actually mentioned that in a context of a story, being, you know, a teacher being caught off their original territory because of Corona, and spending 3 months teaching people in France while that person was in South Africa, which is quite an amazing, it's quite an amazing story, and a segue to other topics that we're going to talk about. So thank you for the question. Lauren, I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is the team. So we spoke about market, adaptivity, we spoke about business plans, ideation. I want to ask a question about how do you, I mean, now you need a team. You can't do everything alone, right? Even if you're very smart. What's the smart of picking the right team? What would you give as an advice to someone who starts a business and wants to start choosing the right people to work with them?
Yep. I would say I'll break it down to the simplest first step I did was go on LinkedIn and type in tech. And I only knew people that worked on Wall Street because I was working on Wall Street as a trader. So I only knew a couple people, and I just immediately gravitated to those people and learned as much as I could. But the initial crew of people that I assembled were people that I knew well and trusted. And, you know, I think that's the easiest place to find talent very quickly. Obviously, that's sort of step one, is just going to people that you know that can do this, or asking friends to reach out to somebody that's close. And then there's different levels of kind of finding that team, right? Then we started to build a bigger team, and those people knew more people, and it was still pretty much like a family. And as we've continued to grow, and now we're adding more people than I can keep track of at this point, then you start to get into a different phase where now you're using a recruiter and other things to build that team. But I think the most important thing is finding people you really trust, people that you really like to work with. You know, my core team, I can count on them with my life, and I don't have to ask them twice and worry. And when you get great people that come in the organization very quickly, they don't ask you like, what should I do? They're just picking up the pieces. And then when you get somebody that's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, you don't know what to do? I go to bed at 4 a.m. every night. How are you trying to figure out what work to be done? So the good people just come in and move the pieces quickly. And I think you just need to take and accept who's good and who's not very quickly, and not waste your time, because 6 months with the wrong partner or the wrong people will really set you back. And so I think it's important to really trust those people that you bring in your close circle in the beginning.
Very important advice. I want to pause here. We had someone on video, Mr. Lieberman, asking a question. Maybe dropped. All right, so we'll wait for them to come back. Jerry, building a robust team. Well, like, what did you do?
Well, the first thing we did was hire a lot of our friends. All right, so I think I had the opposite problem as Lauren. Our founding team was all technical, and for us, the struggle was getting go-to-market talent. So the first thing that we did, and I think this was key to our early success, is we invested in a sales coach. So the sales coach personally taught me the fundamentals of go-to-market, how to sell, how to develop a playbook, how to handle objections. And from there, he actually helped me build out the initial sales team. So now we have 4 account executives and 1 SDR and we're constantly hiring more. But that initial investment, I think, made a big difference because we could really fill the gaps on our founding team.
I apologize. Thank you, Geoff. I apologize. I have to stop here 1 second. Mr. Lieberman, can you bring Mr. Lieberman? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Hello.
That I'd like to address a question to Geoff. My company, Patter, which is pre-launch, is a voice-only social network, a conversational social network. I intentionally and very specifically went with voice only rather than voice plus video for a number of reasons, including lowering a barrier to entry and keeping a conversation focused on the conversation itself rather than a distraction of what do I look like or what does everybody else look like on the call. But I'd like to ask you, as someone who has built and scaled several social or dating, and I know there's some overlap there, platforms, where do you see, or do you see use cases for voice only, and where are the use cases for video? What do you see are the audio only use cases in your mind? Because you had mentioned that you specifically went with video because it was so important to your users in your platform.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, of course, wish you luck on the audio side. Audio is a really important market that has a lot of really interesting companies in it right now. I'm sure, as you know, I actually did a Clubhouse event earlier today. So
maybe you can snag me an invite. They're very valuable nowadays.
I do have them. But as it relates to dating, it's interesting. So I have seen there's an app out of China called Soul. I think it's also available in the US, SOUL. But that does audio-based dating. That's fairly interesting. There's some others, you know, in China that are in the audio-only space. Some of the names are escaping me, but with audio, it's a very much. I like where you're going with it. Yeah, you could have maybe more interesting conversations. You don't get to see. You know, you certainly have less friction to creation. You could be on the treadmill or whatever and engaging. We've been a little slow with it at the Meet group only because we don't really see, we see the community aspects really clearly, but we don't see the monetization aspects as clearly, at least not yet. And the reason is with a video experience, you tend to be lean in, right? Like you're looking at the screen, your attention is fixated on it, and the gift box is there, the streamer smiles, you're happy, you've gotten some reaction from your generosity, and so on. In an audio case, you don't get that. You probably, if you're using it right, aren't even looking at the screen, and maybe you don't even have it in your hand. And so it's difficult. But at the same time, you could have really long session times. You could have, I'm sure you can make a big business that way. But that's one of the things we've thought about is, you know, the lean in versus lean back nature of it. Monetization is encouraged by the lean in nature of video.
Yep. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Geoff and Mr. Lieberman. Thank you for your question. That is actually interesting that this member of the audience came with that question. My next question was about to be about monetization. So, Geoff, I know you guys mastered monetization in live streaming. You guys are really good at it. So what's a good advice you can share here? Not all the secrets, but a good advice you can share thinking about monetization for others.
Yeah, I mean, the way we've thought about monetization from the beginning, and there's probably a few different pieces to it, but I would say an important one is, and Eugene Wei, I've mentioned this essay before, but it is a really interesting essay, status as a service, and it's just a good way of thinking about something we were already doing. But status is so important to monetization, right? And so if you think you're going to monetize without leaderboards and gamification, you might, but that's a proven way of encouraging competition, and rolling out levels, badges. There's a reason why if you go into Chinese live streaming apps like YY and Momo, they look really full of a lot of things, right? And that's because they probably all incrementally increased the video ARPDAU of the service. And so I think leaning into status and gamification is one way. And then I would say the other thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate, especially on the tech side, because there's this tendency of if you build it, they will come, is that we could have easily have built the service and had pretty good engagement with zero monetization. Like, you need to have the talent too. So over time, we built out this talent team to find people on Instagram. We kind of had the model of what we were looking for in mind from looking at other services in China, but we had to train up that behavior in our own organic users and in other networks where we could find them, and then bring them to us. And ultimately now we have like 36 people that just do that sort of thing. And so don't think of it as just building a tech product. If you're building a video and probably in an audio business, you're building a media company and you need a talent team.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts there, no doubt, and the talent that sits in the front, could probably drive a lot of that value into the platform, which is a very, very important observation. Thank you, Geoff. I'm taking one question here from the Q&A line. Was addressed to you, Lauren. You mentioned that you pivoted from a career in Wall Street to health and tech. Was there a specific moment in your life that you are willing to share that cemented your determination to make that jump?
Yeah, I had bought this apartment, which is 3 floors in New York City. And so I intended to work on Wall Street and make a nice salary for a long time. I had invested all my money in the highest risk investments. And then I had this vision for the future of fitness, and I decided to quit my job. So I had not prepared for this properly. I had no intention of starting a company, but I started to go work out at a lot of gyms, and I became really clear what I thought the future was going to hold. And exactly to Jerry's point, I would sit at work every day and they would be like, Lauren, you just bought 200 million 2-year notes. And I would be distracted looking up things online constantly. And all I could think about was the person I was dating, which was my future company. And I would just think about it all day long. And I was so distracted at work. And eventually I just was like, I know that I felt so certain about it. And I knew that I couldn't take a step beyond just doing it all day at work and doing it at night and talking about it with a couple people and raise money and go beyond that. I mean, nobody's going to invest in a company if I do it from 6 to 10 at night. And so I just was like, I got to take this jump. And I have to say that it was the best thing I ever did. If my company didn't work out, I now know that my old life was so unfulfilling. People write us and say that we've made their lives better, that we changed their life. They're getting healthier. Nobody told me I made their life better when I worked on Wall Street. I didn't know that I was missing this reason for working and this passion for working. So even if everything went south, I'm so grateful that I took the leap. And I encourage you, again, to Jeff's point, is like, just do it, for lack of a better way to put it, because you're going to end up in a better, different place. And if you just stay static doing the same thing, you're going to regret not doing something or wonder. If you're smart, you can always go back and everything will always be okay. That's my famous line. It's always going to be okay. And I think Mashita said that too. It's all going to be okay. You just need to take the leap and readjust and acclimate and adjust to your surroundings. So I would encourage you to stop overthinking it and to do it, because it's a great thing. And even though everyone was like, why would you leave your great job? This is crazy. I was like, thanks for the support. So you just have to trust yourself and trust that you'll find your way.
Yeah, self-trust is trusting your own judgment is, I think it's important for all entrepreneurs, for all business managers. You need to make a lot of decisions every day. You need to make quick decisions sometimes. You need to trust your judgment. You need to practice also good judgment, but you need to trust your judgment and follow the decision. I think that's an important point. But beyond trusting yourself and believing in your dream and designing a business plan and finding monetization and finding the right technology, at some point, you may need to raise funds from the outside. So I want to start with you, Geoff. Like, what? Sorry. I want to start with you, Geoff. What do you know? You long past that stage, but what was the first moment you said, okay, I need to take money from the outside?
When I was burning about $100,000 a month.
Okay, that's a good point.
So basically, when I was starting my yearbook back in the day, the company was growing really fast. We got 1 million users in the first 9 months, but there was no business model. The thought was let's find a community, then let's monetize it. And so it was kind of a scale up need, and I didn't want to go into hawk $1 million for it. So that was what led me to do ultimately a Series A with first round and with U.S. venture partners. But I would say, today, if I were starting something, I would probably do a seed stage. I think it's I generally would probably look to put investor money at risk in a combination of my own, even though I could probably fund it, especially at the seed stage, just because I think that it does add a level of seriousness to the enterprise, and that could help bring in talent, and it may also help expand the network to the investors network. But so I probably would rely on some investment today.
Makes a lot of sense. Mashita-san, what do you think about that?
Well, when we started the business, we didn't think about raising money because the service what we started was not the capital intensive business. So the timing when we raised the money was we changed the business. As I mentioned, we were used to be doing outsourcing service for website creation and mobile application, but we changed to our own product. We developed the software, we developed the application. So we had to invest and we had to create our own product and we had to promote that own product to the market. So that needs the capital. So we decided to raise money. But the one thing, what we didn't, and maybe this is one thing what we should have done, was finding somebody who knows about the funding or raising money. The raising money is really technical things, and if you don't know about those kind of fundraising, it might be difficult or it might be dangerous. So we need to find somebody who can be trusted and who knows about the technical matters about those kind of fundraising. So both of those needs of the capital and also the person who can be trusted and who can handle this kind of things are, I think, important.
Very, very important. Sometimes you're basically saying sometimes trying to do this alone could turn out to be a dangerous undertaking. And I think many startups will agree with that. There's a way and style to do fundraising, and fundraising rounds are different between, A and B and C are going to be very different. Lauren, what's been your experience?
Yeah, I think at first when I started the company, I had never fundraised before, so I was fortunate enough to be able to self-fund initially out of the gate, and take no salary for years and fund it with paying the other amazing technical people that I had join the team in the early days. Then initially, really just kind of going to investor events and just immersing myself. Although I worked in finance and that's my skill set, fundraising is its own animal and it was different things. So just immersing myself into that culture, into the venture world, going to as many events as possible, learning the lingo and getting comfortable with that, I think was an important step. And then it's like anything else. I think my biggest piece of advice, or the most important thing I've learned, is you need to create a reason for them to invest and a trigger for them to invest. Otherwise, everyone just watches. It's either the pressure of the launch date or some sort of event that's going to happen, or they're going to miss out, because then it plays into FOMO, and that is literally the best way to get investors interested in investing in you. Every time, and I'm raising a round now that's now oversubscribed, and every time it's so hard to get the first block of money in, and then when you're at the last bit, everybody wants to give you money, and you don't want to take more because you don't want to lose any more equity. And it's like it happens like clockwork every round that we raise, and it's so funny and frustrating at the same time. So it's really hard to get those first core believers, because nobody wants to do it alone. No fund wants to do it alone. And so that first juncture is so difficult. And once you start to get that ball rolling, it obviously becomes a lot easier. And at times we've had to scale back and get creative to be able to get to those junctures. But I would say FOMO is probably the best thing that you can create around it, and also just a trigger for the investors. Otherwise, for them, it behooves them to wait and see more progress. So you need to be really creative in how you tell your narrative, and I think find the right people that you can really work with. Your investors, as they become a part of your board in many cases, are going to be a big part of your life, and you should try to know how they act in their best days and in their worst days, and learn about them as well, and not just take any money that you get, because they are going to be a big part of your journey, and you know, a big part of the destiny of how things go as well. So surround yourself with people that you trust.
I think Mashita-san was mentioning that too earlier, that you're not just taking money, you acquiring a partner, and there's got to be trust, there's got to be a joint vision. Otherwise, capital turns into debates, and that could actually delay the development of the business. And since we're running out of time, I want to take like 1 minute, maybe ask Jerry a final question. Like, what do you see the future of real-time engagement? I know that, Jerry, you and your team were working very hard. You recently launched something super amazing. What do you see your business? What do you see the future of engagement?
Well, I think if you look at the history of innovation, it's all about getting tools into the hands of people that can make them more creative, right? So if you look at YouTube, for example, people can create things on YouTube now that before were reserved for television shows. I mean, a single person or a small studio, and that's created an entire economy of creators. And I think it's going to be the same with events. Before the pandemic, to run an event, you had to be a professional event producer. You needed an audio video team. You need a lot of expensive equipment. Before Welcome, you needed all the same things for a virtual event, right? You would need OBS and vMix and all these other tools to create an experience like this. But what we want to do at Welcome is enable anybody to do that, to create a virtual event that looks like and feels like an Apple product launch. And so I think the future of real-time engagement is just getting tools into the hands of everyday users that were in the past reserved for professionals. And I think we'll continue to do that.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to kind of get to the end of this VChat. Unfortunately, it was so short. I think we should have scheduled that for 5 hours. You guys have so many amazing things to say. So maybe I should say that's the first chapter. We're going on a roadshow, right?
Yeah.
All of us. So, but for those that wanted to ask questions and didn't type them, or just maybe came into the VChat in the middle or in the last moment, you still have a chance to talk to those amazing people here on the panel. So I want to thank Geoff and Mashita-san and Lauren and Jerry. And I want to invite you, all of you, the audience, to join the lounge. Right after this, you could actually jump into the lounge and sit down virtually with our panelists and ask them questions. And maybe if you didn't have the time to do it before, now you can do it. I also want to remind you that Agora keeps doing those VChat events periodically, and there's going to be amazing things coming up very soon with more topics and more interesting stuff. So you always, we're always happy to have you, all of you, join us and express your opinion and ask your questions and participate actively in the debate. The future of real-time engagement is really big, and all of you, I want to thank you for being part of it. And I really appreciate all of you panelists for making the time to join us. And thank you all of you audience for joining us. And let's jump to the lounge. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Reggie.
Appreciate it. Thank you.